Shinra Kusakabe from the Fire Force manga is stronger than you think. I'll explain why. Keep in mind this is all how I interpret the statements and feats in the manga. You could view it a completely different way and that's perfectly fine. I just want to share my perspective, so feel free to disagree. Also, quick shout out to Nairobi for his assistance once again on a Shinra scale. Oh, and before I start, I'm going to put a spoiler warning here. Most, if not all of this video will contain spoilers from the manga, so if you're not caught up or don't want to be spoiled, click off now. Alright, still here? Alright bro, suit yourself. Let's start this off by explaining what Adola is, since this is probably the most important part. Adola, or Hell as humanity perceives it, refers to the higher plane of existence said to house all of human ideation as the collective unconscious of humanity. It's stated that all of these human ideas / perceptions arrive here and manifest in the forms of how humanity conceptualizes reality. Also note that one of the results of these conceptual manifestations arrive in the form of doppelgangers as well. Adola is shown to be governed by a being known as the Evangelist, to which humanity has revered as a god since antiquity or ancient times. We don't know too much about the Evangelist, but it is worth noting that on multiple instances throughout the series, the Evangelist is stated to be the collective unconscious given form. The collective unconscious, of course, being Adola itself, meaning the Evangelist just is Adola. Keep that in mind for later. Some other notable statements about Adola made later on by Haumea include this one where she states imagination creates and erases all possibilities, and this one that states creation stems from imagination, it forms the very earth. To add consistency to this idea, we know from previous chapters that as Adola approaches the universe in the form of the Great Cataclysm, these same ideas stemming from imagination are shown to dictate and alter the very physics of the Fire Force universe and even the story itself as stated in these scans here. Alright, now what do I mean by all of human ideation? This essentially refers to the fact that Adola contains within itself different ideas and principles that make up the Fire Force verse, including abstract concepts like hope, despair, death, etc. Since we know it's referencing actual concepts and not just literal thoughts, then we know when it says all of human ideation, it should just include all concepts, even space and time. Now look, I'm not just trying to lump them all in. I'll explain the supporting evidence I have that leads me to believe this is the case. So let's go back to chapter 129 where Joker and Burns recall back to the time they had an Adola link and were able to view into Adola. When this happened, they started to name off different concepts that Adola had within it. Two of these being the concept of higher planes or higher dimensions, and the other being the concept of mathematics that they're visibly perceiving. Now remember what I said before, these ideas and concepts stem from imagination. With this in mind, the logical conclusion would be that this includes how humanity views and measures the concept of dimensionality as a whole. That being said, since we know the concepts of space and time encompass all of dimensionality and Adola is stated to house all concepts, I believe it would be safe to say that it houses space and time as well. Now that we've established that Adola contains all concepts within itself, including impressive ones like space and time, we can place this realm into the 1A or outerversal category. Now let's talk about why Shinra and his new form scale to this. In chapter 295, Shinra, Sho, and their mother Mary join together in a process called soul resonance, where they unite their souls into Shinra's being, becoming Shinra Bancho Man. Due to this process, Shinra is shown and stated to acquire the power of God and is even referred to as such by Haumea herself. Now let's run through some of the impressive showings that Shinra displays with this form. Haumea, after merging her soul with the Evangelist, which is essentially merging with Adola, becomes the Despair Saint and attempts to stop Shinra through the means of a divine light said to be able to destroy anything that not even Shinra or any living being could survive. This should include Shinra pre-soul resonance and anyone else, including doppelgangers that scale below him like Raffles. With this in mind, the divine light should also have conceptual erasure properties, which Shinra just casually catches in his hand, throws up into the air, and creates a literal atmosphere within Adola. This isn't the only time we see him create things either. Throughout chapters 296 and on, we see Shinra utilize Adola's flames, or the Adola burst, aka the primordial flame said to command all things, to create things like landscapes that include mountains, water streams, and plant life, as well as animals like birds, giraffes, and whales just by planting his hand on the ground. The Despair Saint even points out that when he acquired the power of God, he acquired the power to recreate the world using his imagination and thus quote-unquote creates a new hell. Hell, of course, referencing back to how humanity perceives Adola, and imagination calling back to where all concepts derive from. Logically, this would mean Shinra has the power to manipulate all the concepts in Adola to recreate the real world using his imagination. This, plus the fact that he casually scales above Haumea and the Evangelist together, should logically scale Shinra above Adola as well. Along with this, we also then see probably the best display of Shinra's ridiculous speed when the Despair Saint tries to blast him with the Light of Despair. The Light of Despair is stated to be the speed of light, and Shinra casually kicks it down down and creates a civilization from it. But see, that's not the impressive part, because to us as the reader and even the Despair Saint, it seemed instantaneous from one kick. But he didn't just do it once. Nah, he went back in time and repeated the same action until he fully created all of civilization, even mentioning that he messed up a couple of times and had to go back to fix the mistakes. Now, previously on my TikTok page, I've mentioned how Shinra has displayed feats before that put him in the immeasurable speed tier, but this feat in particular, coupled with the fact that he should casually scale above Adola and its concepts, including space and time, this should logically qualify him for irrelevant speed. I also want to add in that besides conceptual levels of creation, destruction, and resistance, he also now has conceptual levels of soul manipulation due to this feat here, where he casually utilizes the tears of the Despair Saint to revive souls of humanity back into existence. Look bro, I'm pretty shocked too. I don't know where Okubo got the idea to make Shinra this powerful, but man, I'm not complaining. Now, I want to mention that the manga isn't finished yet, but it will be soon, so as it stands right now, given the current feats and statements, Shinra Bancho Man should scale to outerversal levels of attack potency, durability, and hacks, as well as irrelevant speed. If you guys have any questions or disagree with some things I've said in the scale, feel free to leave your thoughts down in the comments. Other than that, if you've made it this far into the video, please leave a like. Oh, and don't forget to follow and subscribe. Peace!